Hey everybody, thank you for watching this video first of all, and yeah, we're going to be talking about What If Hungary Succeeded Part 2, and yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this one. It was kind of fun to make. Just kidding, it was very fun. I love making videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you like my content. Thank you guys so much, and have a good one. So, we ended the last video with the map looking like this, with Hungary succeeding and preparing to declare war on Serbia, though Russia's still protecting it, so it decided not to, but still taking Albania and wrapping itself around. Austria, well, the democratic states of Austria now, Central Europe to be sure, even though people just call it that, and Lenin taking power in what used to be Western Austria. Lenin, wanting more land, would decide to invade Switzerland, as he already spent some of his exile there, and Switzerland had no allies, so they would be an easy target to pick off. The British would go, "Arr," and grunt their fingers at them, so would Russia, but France would wish to do nothing about it, hoping to see this as an opportunity to help take more land. Lenin, though, would be slow, as most people would be, while invading Switzerland. Lenin would lose a lot of the territory he already gained, but now his troops being trained in the mountains and starting to get used to this kind of warfare would continue to move through, even though it would be slow and grueling warfare, and Lenin, having less population, would have to use the same tactics he always uses by taking the telegram stations and post offices and just trying to cut off the city forever. Lenin would soon all of the ground he took in the Northern Territory, seeing this as a trickery device, as the Swiss forces would think that he would just be trying to move through the north and take over the German border. He would strike decisively in the south, quickly crippling their speed and economy, and almost surrounding the entire thing by taking the Swiss gold banks, though there would still be a lot of reserves for Switzerland to keep on fighting. Now, with the Swiss not knowing where Lenin's armies are, they would quickly try to pull out and move into the center line of defense to try and keep on fighting from the mountains, but now Lenin's troops, who have mountain experience, would quickly start to see what would be the Swiss tactics, so they would start adopting them and moving further on their own without having these decisive tricks. Switzerland would start taking its southern territory, which would actually help a lot, because now Lenin would have another place to break through and crush the armies by encircling them. Already, with a little bulge happening in Switzerland, Lenin would see his opportunity, and so would his generals, and he would strike. This Russian man leading this German nation would almost certainly be victorious in this war. This would basically crush the Swiss forces, and not wanting to destroy their beautiful architecture in a long siege and having most of their army destroyed, they would quickly decide to surrender and become a part of this new Germanic union Lenin was starting. The other powers would look on this in scarcity and would prepare to declare war, but Switzerland would overall hurt from this experience. Lenin would take all the land, increasing the Germanic oppression of the French and Italians, even though it wasn't that much to begin with. But with this communist system, he would want to support the majority of the population, which would be German. He would plead to the rest of Austria and Germany to look down on them with pity. They would look down on him instead with disgust and prepare to declare war. Of course, these other powers, seeing this horrible new cancer almost growing in the center of Europe and not wanting it to build more armies and gain more support, would quickly begin to invade. All of their neighbors would just come in to crush them and divide the land up into their own quadrants. Once again, I'm sorry for the border war when this happens. But Germany, the democratic states of Central Europe, Italy, and France would certainly win. With the Swiss now rebelling and Lenin now losing a terrible army and most of the territory he conquered, people would oust him and he would be executed and the war would be over soon. But this still being in the Imperial Age, they would still want the Swiss land, even though the Swiss were rebelling against it with some more land. Germany would take the Germanic parts, Italy would take the Italian parts, and France would take the French parts. But France would want more, and Italy would be okay with this. And the democratic states of the Central Powers would want back Austria, that it lost in its brutal civil war in the last video. But Germany would refuse to give in to the French and Austrian demands. To mention, meanwhile in Asia, with the war still happening and World War I not happening, Japan could see a quick opportunity to take a crippling, weakened China, and no one could stop them. This would be a great prize, and China's warlords would become more of Japanese puppets than actual ruling powers, and Japan would become a growing power in the East. France, tired of Germany having Alsace-Lorraine and not wanting to work with them with Switzerland, would invade. Italy would be forced to invoke its alliance with Germany and would also invade France. France, not preparing for the German military that's just trained, they would quickly invade, and France's tired military would not work. The democratic states of the Central Powers would quickly take land from Germany, though they would also lose land. They would continue losing land, but Italy would take some land, but lose a majority of their land that they already took. France, meanwhile, would be crushed, with its experienced military preparing to invade Switzerland, or being above, preparing the German border, would not be able to fight without this mountainous terrain that they has trained for so long in. The UCE would start taking land from Italy, and France would start taking parts of its island nations. France, though, would be pushed back, but the Italian armies would have to retreat, and the German armies would have to prepare for a spring offensive by the USCE, which is the United States of Central Europe. This would lead to an overall pullback for France's troops, who would be able to strike in their spring offensive they were planning. They would manage to advance, but not as far as they were hoping. Now, Germany would be their turn to push. The UCE managed to take Prague back, which was their capital, and this would overly all hurt them even more. Due to this fact, and the loss of soldiers in these spring offensives, they would be crushed and there wouldn't be another offensive for them to push at. Germany and Italy would both pull back their troops and dig in, expecting the French and UCE troops to not do anything. So, the USCE and France would both decide to push, but this would be met with a horrendous slaughter, as the second line of Germany and Italy would just overly all crush them and take pretty much half of their entire armies out in one fell swoop. Prague would be captured once again, and now with only Croatia, who was still rebelling from the last civil war, and the Polish parts, which were fine to become independent, would not do anything. And Paris, which has already become somewhat of a battleground, then it would already be ruined, and not wanting the rest of it to be ruined, would decide to be forced to surrender. Germany and Italy would both take more land, especially in Africa, where the French colonial empire would be destroyed. Meanwhile, a Polish state would be established out of the USCE, and Croatia, well, parts of it, would be annexed by Italy. Germany would take the majority of the land, and also prepare to annex Luxembourg. Britain, watching this with horror, would prepare to declare war itself. but we'll have to get to that in another video. Probably not part 3, but I hope you guys watch this, and thank you guys so much for watching. This was actually, well, it was fun to remember. I made it a while ago, but just didn't get the recording done, so I had some more free time, so I decided to get the recording done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you remember to have a good run. Subscribe now. You will subscribe. Wow, what a great video. As we watch Napoleon prepare to annex all of Ulm, let's take a moment and click the video on the left. Oh, what? You thought I was gonna relax? No, the one on the left is my most recently uploaded, and the one on the right, well, YouTube thinks you should watch that. I don't know why.